Hi, this is France Joshua Merida, and welcome to On Point the podcast, where I invite guests that will allow you to be inspired, informed, and updated with all of the issues. So join me as I have my conversations with them on point. Welcome to the fourth episode of On Point the podcast. Out of the four episodes, I guess this is a very special one because I have invited a very special guest. She is an associate professor from the Department of Political Science. Everyone, please help me welcome Professor Jean Encinas-Franco. Ma'am, good afternoon. No? Thank you for saying yes to this interview. As what I've said earlier, I figured to invite someone that can help my listeners to unbundle the critical issues that surrounds Philippine politics.
Thank you, Franz, and thank you to those who listen to your podcast. And salamat din sa opportunity, Franz.
So, my first question po, ma'am, doon po para sa mga nakakalimot, doon po sa ating mga first-time voters, dahil sabi ko nga, malapit na yung election. Why vote during election? Ano ba talaga yung importansya ng election? Kasi minsan po, Professor, di ba, nababalitaan po natin sa mga balita na minsan, kumbaga nadi-disenfranchise po yung mga voters sa kadahilanan na hindi gumagana yung mga voting counting machines or minsan sila na po yung nag-aalisan sa mga polling precincts dahil hindi nga makaboto. So, can you explain to us the importance of why should we vote in the first place?
Kasi elections are very important because it is the time in which a country or a populace have to take its politicians to task, to hold them accountable. For instance, a congressman or a mayor in your place is seeking a re-election. If you don't like the way he or she governed in your municipality, then you can vote for his opponent or for another one who provides you with a better platform. So that's the one the one function of voting. The other one is it's a hard fought battle. Before 1937, for instance, women were not allowed to vote. So we have to honor the sacrifices of people who came before us, who fought very hard for us to be able to earn the right to vote. So, so may historical, merong, for accountability purposes. Thirdly, if we want to change things in our society, if we want improvements, then elections provide us with the proper venue, by voting for people we think would give us better opportunities, would give us better governance, then it would definitely be a chance for us to do this in terms of voting.
Tama po kayo, ma'am. Parang what I'm getting is that, kumbaga, it's really the power. Kumbaga, nasa tao talaga yung kapangyarihan, hindi po ba? And paano po kaya natin ito maitatawid sa mga, kasi ikaw nasa akademika, ako nag-aaral ako, paano natin maitatawid ang conversation po na ito, kumbaga, sa mga taong hindi naaabot ng TV o ng media? Dahil sa tingin ko may mga ilan-ilan pa din talagang, kumbaga, hindi naman sa hindi sila bumuboto, hindi lang medyo nila napapahalagahan yung the concept of for them to vote, or basta-basta na lang bumuboto ng kahit na sino without looking into the specifics or the credentials of kung sino man yung iboboto nila.
Oo. Um, Totoo 'yun kasi ordinaryong mamamayan, hindi lang naman dito kundi kahit sa ibang bansa, wala sila siyempreng panahon upang magsaliksik ng information and kadalasan nakukuha nila halimbawa yung information kung saan sila boboto, siyempre dun sa kung accessible sa kanila. Halimbawa, right now sa social media or sa mga kaibigan o sa pamilya. May kanya-kanyang rason dahil sagrado ang pagboto. May kanya-kanyang rason ng mga tao kung bakit nila iboboto yung isang politiko. Um, Siyempre, mahirap husgahan din yung mga taong sa tingin natin hindi tama yung taya nila sa isang politiko. Pero meron kasing rationality sa pagboto, meaning to say ang mga tao, they also find it rational, or they tend to see the benefit of voting for particular politicians. Maaaring sa atin, um, hindi sa atin rational yun. No? Ay, bakit mo binoto yan? Ganun. Pero sa kanila, may sarili silang sense of rationality. Bakit nila iboboto? Halimbawa, binigyan ng scholarship yung kanilang kamag-anak nitong politiko na to. Pero
Kung
tayo naman,
rational choice theory po sila.
oo,
It's
yes,
parang
exactly.
they weigh in the pros and cons in voting for this particular politician dahil nakatulong po sa kanila ng
Oo.
personal o sa kung anumang bagay.
Oo, hindi ibig sabihin na hindi natin ginusto yung boto ng iba, dapat na natin silang maliitin, no? Kasi para sa kanila may rason sila, no? Kung bakit gano'n. Ngayon, maraming pamamaraan kung paano matulungan yung mga mamamayan for them to vote wisely. Hindi lang naman ito problema or usapin ng individual. Meron ding role yung ating electoral institutions, yung ating electoral system. Hanggat mahina ang political party sa bansa natin, magiging ang eleksyon natin or ang pamamaraan ng politika ay magiging clientelist, no? Kumbaga, natulungan mo ko, tutulungan din kita. So hindi siya ang mangyayari, wala ring mga programang pang-political ang mga politicians. So ang paraan nila para kumuha ng boto sa pamamagitan ng dole outs, hindi ba? Or sa pamamagitan ng mga polisiya na kahit na hindi naman nila alam yung magiging impact, magpapangako sila. Yun din yung kadahilanan kung bakit hindi rin dapat sisihin lang sa maling pagboto ng mga tao yung ating politika.
Kumbaga you're saying na systemic, kumbaga ayusin muna yung system.
Meron ding totoo yun. Kaya yun yung gusto kong sabihin.
And you make mention about the weak political party system. Maisingit ko lang po kasi maganda yung point. What do you think, hindi naman best kasi walang best, na ideal reform or adjustment doon sa political parties po natin? Kasi what I've known, kung tama po ako, other countries are funded yung kanilang political parties para maiwasan yung tinatawag nilang corruption, kumbaga. Prof, what do you think will be the best reform or adjustment doon sa ating political party system?
In the past, may mga proposals na ganyan, na bigyan ng state subsidy yung political parties. However, there are sectors who do not like it because the underlying reason is that they do not trust politicians. The country has a high incidence of poverty. At least 20% pa ng population ng Pilipinas ay mahirap. So hindi ito gusto ng ibang tao, no? Kasi parang bibigyan mo ng pera, eh ang perception nga nagnanakaw yung mga politiko. So isa ring dahilan 'yon, no? Um, hmm, Tapos, meron ding mga hindi lang naman pag-develop ng political parties, eh, meron ding, usapin ng halimbawa ay, dapat ding ibahin yung pagboto ng vice president and president. Dapat one ticket voting na lang, 'no? Para
Just
hindi
like
na
the US.
nagkakaroon, oo,
Para
para
hindi nagkakaroon
pero
ng friction. Kumbaga.
at tsaka kasi yun, na-e-enhance yun, nagko-complement yun sa pag-build mo ng strong political parties. Ang
Mm-mm.
isa pa doon, yung party list natin, halimbawa, dapat talaga buwagin yun at i-overhaul yun para talagang ano, no? Kasi masyado na siyang na-bastardize. Although I might say that there are party lists that deserve to be party lists because they truly have agenda and ideology that can contribute to discussions about the fate of the country.
My next question po, with the elections, with the election 2022 is just around the corner. Uh, with all the pandemic, with all what's happening in our country, no, with all the violations, with all the mishaps, perhaps, what do you think is at stake in the 2022 election?
Um, Madami kasi we have had the pandemic for more than a year, and this pandemic has changed a lot, no? It has changed and we're seeing that it might actually be creating an impact in the future, even post-pandemic. Halimbawa, there might be new jobs that will be created, no? There might be new jobs that will be created. There might be new jobs that will be lost. Education might actually not be the same again. Yes, of
Yes.
course, face-to-face classes will be there, but there will now be options or blended learnings uh, in some programs that may need it because it may provide the flexibility and what you call this. It may provide flexibility that would otherwise not be given by a face-to-face learning modality. We will have to definitely enhance our health system because in a way, uh, hindi pa dumadating dito yung COVID eh, talong-talo na tayo precisely because of the neglect, no? Of the health system that we have uh, been suffering from for many decades.
Talking about the election and its stake, kumbaga kung ano yung nakataya sa for the next 2022 election, what are your thoughts, Prof, doon sa posibleng Duterte-Duterte tandem, or do you
Mm,
see this as possible ba siyang mangyari? What what will be the impact kung mangyari man siya, halimbawa, what will be the impact sa Duterte-Duterte tandem doon sa ating democratic institutions, perhaps?
it's I don't think it's no, it's a good way to move forward. Mainly because it's super in your face. In our local parlance, it's parang garapalan, di ba? And it will make us a laughing stock. It will uh, it will not uh, it will result in further undermining our democracy.
Kasi
It,
nung 'di ba may nagpo-push,
yes,
actually
yes.
nagpo-push pa din sila ngayon eh. And my take on that is it will just galvanize the political dynasty more kasi considering na magkalapit lang talaga yung terms nila if ever mangyari, or others might say why not the Aquino or the Arroyos, for example? My take on that, Prof, it's just that siguro magkalayo yung terms ng mag-ina or mag-ama, and moving back to Duterte, masyado kasing close yung kanilang terms. So, tama yung sinabi mo, medyo not good dahil tayo po ay nagpo-push ng anti-political dynasty.
Totoo. Yeah, exactly. So, parang pinapakita mo na napaka-narrow na ng pagpasok sa politika. Di ba?
Mm. And talking about the administration, I just want to know your thoughts on kumbaga, your assessment of the standing of the opposition. No? Kasi nung June 12, if I'm not mistaken, Prof, nag, uh, naglabas ng mga potential standard bearer yung isang bayan. So, what's your kumbaga hindi naman uh, forecast, kumbaga ano lang yung masasabi mo na in the standing of opposition for 2022, considering na lahat ng mga candidates na pinush ng isang bayan ay after they publicly kumbaga nilabas nila yung pangalan, kaagad-agad din nag-decline yung iba. So what's your thoughts on it? What's your reading?
Oo
Ito
nga
ba ay
eh.
masama para sa isang yes, sir.
Oo, tama ka. Hindi, ano eh, we're still grappling with that kind of a system na parang ginagaya natin yung primaries sa ibang bansa, no? Na parang, pero hindi naman pala kinonsult. So, hindi siya maganda kung hindi naman pala na-consult yung iba, no? So, parang, kung hindi sila na-consult, ano ang ibig sabihin nitong announcement? Is that a real announcement or is that some form of an enumeration of potential candidates pero hindi naman pala hindi naman pala lalaban, hindi naman pala totoong nagpalista. Baka naman ang maisip kasi ng mga tao dito totoo ba itong vetting na ginagawa nila, di ba? Pero I must emphasize that we need a unified opposition this time. We cannot afford to have several candidates.
Kasi dati parang watak-watak sila, di ba? Kailangan
Mm-mm.
nilang, kung may sabihin man silang for president or for vice president, yun na talaga yun. Wala nang iba. Kasi parang nahahati. And do you think they will suffer the same fate as nung 2019, tama?
It's difficult to speculate because we don't have surveys yet and there are no uh, candidates that have filed yet.
Uh, Down to my second to the last question, napanood nung mga Pilipino kanina yung burial former President Benigno Aquino. What do you think will be the role of his sudden death, or may role ba siya in kumbaga changing the political landscape in the Philippine politics?
Well, it remains to be seen, pero ano no, as it is, we've seen a lot of social media posts, a lot of, you know, posts about their memories of the previous administration. So it's definitely a much needed boost for the opposition. But we don't yet know as to how the opposition will use it so that they can move forward and have a better chance at winning compared to the 2019 elections.
You mentioned about kumbaga chances of winning. Ano po yung kailangan nilang, sa tingin mo, Prof, ano po yung kailangan nilang strategy or kumbaga kailangan nilang market? Kasi nung 2019 parang may nagsabing mga researchers na they were just kumbaga hinhit po nila yung palaging the Duterte side. Kumbaga, ano po yung kailangan nilang strategy ngayon, no, considering na may bago silang narrative with the sudden death of the former president. Kumbaga, ano yung kailangan nilang gawin or ibahin doon sa political strategy po nila noong 2019?
I think they have to, no? The more they attack Duterte, the more that he becomes popular because it's the nature of populist politicians. The more that they create division, the more that they garner support. The the thing to do is to uh, create an alternative discourse, create something that has not been talked about and make it click. Hmm?
Mm.
Uh,
Kumbaga po, you're saying na, kumbaga, what I'm getting is just that the opposition must have clear plans. Kung, for example, magsasalita sila about COVID, they must give yung structural, yung baga, yung plano talaga. Kasi minsan, yung mga politicians po natin, they're too generic na. Tutulungan nila
hmm,
yung for COVID, for whatever. I'm
yeah,
getting what you're saying is that parang kailangan talaga nung plano, kailangan nung yung solusyon, di ba? Yung
totoo, they're too
hindi lang yung general statements palagi.
Oo,
Tutulungan
they're too
natin
gen
kayo.
oo, tama. They're too generic to the extent that because they want to simplify their agenda to the people. Kaya lang, since wala namang nagtatanong, they get away with it. Wala namang mga totoong debates, they get away with it. Ang isa pang problema is even if they have an agenda, which is usually the case naman, no? They have to tie this together, put some direction. And parang create a discourse other than the one that has already been taken on by Duterte. I'm
Kumbaga,
not saying that, I'm not saying
kailangan
that
nyo, yes
they
po.
sh- I'm not saying that they should not attack the drug war, no? But what I'm saying is that they should move away from that discourse
Okay.
to gain to gain better awareness and also to change the message.
Oh. Yeah, what I'm getting is that, kumbaga, ano talaga, ibahin yung narrative, di ba? Yun yung writer.
Exactly.
Ibahin yung narrative, ibahin siguro yung approach, the way it was operationalized by the administration kung gusto talagang i-touch yung drug war. Kasi yung approach today is very, it, kumbaga for me, it violates something and it's very dangerous.
Mm. At saka, hopefully, it would be a better no, message. Kasi ang problema noong 2019, it was not a presidential election. Diba? So, parang
Mm,
wala silang center. 'Di ba? Whereas yung mga those who run under the administration, they have Duterte as a center, as a focal point.
okay.
Yung 2019 kasi wala eh, 'di ba? And then there was perception pa that parang watak-watak sila. So yun yung din.
Okay.
That's the one thing that went against them in 2019.
Uh, my next question would be, I know that you are part of the academe, you're an educator. Sa lahat po ng nangyayaring ito, sa lahat po ng, you know, sinasabi ng iba, may mali talaga. Where does an educator, kumbaga, where does an educator stand with all of these issues, with all of these human rights violations? Kumbaga, asking this because iba yung nangyayari on the ground sa supposedly ideal na ginagawa ng government. And as
Mm.
an educator, how do you reconcile these things to your students na kailangan we should really follow the law, pero in reality, hindi naman minsan-minsan nafa-follow talaga yung rule of law. How do you reconcile this to your students, to,
Mm.
as an educator?
Oo. I think that's a good question. What I no, tell them is that while there are laws, because uh, Filipinos sometimes have to seek other ways of getting by, they tend to create parang informal rules among themselves, which sometimes may be better, but sometimes can also create harm. Diba? What I'm trying to say is that halimbawa, Anong tawag dito? You need uh, a COVID test. Gusto mo ng libre. Mahaba ang pila. So, ang nangyayari, gagawa ng paraan yung ibang may access sa kakilala, hindi ba? Yun yung sinasabi ko sa yung parang nagkakaroon ng harm. On the other hand, uh, uh, it can also work for us. Other informal rules or informal institutions like halimbawa anong tawag doon, yung ayuda, mabagal, no? May mga pumila, madami pa rin nagugutom. Nag-create ng community pantries, no? So walang walang leaderless 'yon, may nagsimula, ginaya ng iba. So that's how how things are explained to students, that especially if you're studying politics, you're not just studying about uh, organizations that are tangible, you're also studying about processes that may not be readily seen or that may not be readily tangible, but they're more enduring and sometimes they are better.
For my last question, to end this conversation, what's your message to our Filipino electorate? Especially, yun nga, malapit na yung election. Ano ba yung, kumbaga, last words or reminders doon sa
Uh,
mga...
I think this what you call this pandemic has shown us how leadership matters, no? Uh, to what extent can it make or break whether there's going to be a surge, whether we will have access to more vaccines or not. And it's the most tangible way in which we can actually assess whether we have good or bad leaders. And in the 2022 elections, we will once again have a choice to look for better leaders with better agenda, with more promising, what you call this, with more people promising us a better future. It's important that we look behind their beautiful faces, their promises, their catchy slogans and videos in Facebook and social
Dami.
media.
What I'm getting is, kumbaga, kailangan na nating lumabas doon sa mga narrative na yan. Kumbaga, lumipas na yan. Iba na yung pangangailangan, iba na yung problema ng mga tao. So, kumbaga, we must elevate the conversation. Yun yung nakukuha ko doon na parang,
Yes, exactly.
kailangan na tayong, kumbaga, kailangan pa rin nating tignan yun, pero kailangan na nating lumabas from that thinking or that culture of, oh, gwapo siya, pero, oh, maganda, oh, ganun. Parang, we must elevate now the conversation to a higher level. Now, my on-point question po, Professor, for since you mentioned about leaders, in 3 words, what do you think are the characteristics that the Filipino electorate should be looking for our next president?
Tingin ko leaders with empathy.
Number 1, yes.
Leaders who will be passionate.
Number, and the last
Last
characteristic.
would be leaders who will fight for us.
Okay, and with that, I will end it here, and that's our on-point conversation. And that's it for this week's episode of On Point the podcast. Don't forget to follow us on our official social media accounts to keep you updated. This has been Franz Joshua Merida. Until our next conversation here on Point.